everybody. Another week, another cheerful episode of Game of Thrones. My name is Brandon, the VO Killer Jones, and I am here for another week of Game Trailers of Thrones. I am joined by Mr. Mike, the Maester of Metal Gear Damiani.
I like that.
Ryan, the One-Eyed Crow Stevens.
Nice. This
And
has got to be the imp.
Marco,
the imp.
Trollfinger Rosado. Rocado. And we are here the day after we saw episode 2. What was the title?
I never know.
Lion and the Rose.
Lion and the Rose. And without a doubt, one of the happiest episodes that we've had on the show so far.
Did you see the fake GRRM Twitter?
No.
It just said, "You're welcome."
Yeah. And so Will Wheaton retweeted that or something, and then I think found out it was fake. Was like, it still stands.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to get a little payoff. I got a text from a buddy 5 seconds before starting this recording where he brought up the Golden Crown from the first season. Kind of one of those like, oh, thank you. You know, there is a god, and he is Gurm. But that's the last thing that we officially have to get to in the chronology. We're going to sit down and watch the show very quickly and go through the favorite scenes. So unfortunately, we have to start with other things before we get to the filling of the Oreo, if you will, of Game of Thrones. And we start off with a new character that we were just actually chatting about before we started recording. And you were going to say something interesting about Marco, so I will start with you. But we are reacquainted with Ramsay Snow, the Bastard of Bolton, who's chasing down some poor girl and about to slaughter her via dog mutilation.
And I think it is really, really quick, Ryan, here, just to interrupt. It is important to note, I think, that these scenes in particular are book 5 scenes that they've interjected into book 3.3.5 or whatever. This season 4, so it's, and I think that's kind of interesting, and it's, especially with people thinking that the seasons are going to overlap the books pretty soon. And they're doing a good job with it.
And extremely interesting because, for reference, George R.R. Martin wrote this episode. And so not only is it fun to see these little tiny conversations happen throughout, especially at the wedding, that we're privy to because of his, extending his imagination out a little bit to fill in the TV world, but these brand new scenes that were not in the books.
They were in flashbacks. Like, the thing about Theon is that...
The Reek chapters...
You don't see him in the books until book 5. Like, he disappears after book 2, right? And then when he comes back, he's like, he's Reek. You don't even know it's him until like
a couple chapters in.
Yeah. So
I think he does have a cameo, or a bit of his skin has a cameo in one of the books.
Oh yeah, that's
doesn't Cade get like a parchment from a bird?
But the scene of him of Ramsay chasing the girl and hunting women down in the forest, that's actually like Theon remembers, like, oh yeah, he makes me go with him, and help him out in his hunts of women. That he's a psychopath. But he references it, but we never actually see it.
Now, this might be totally random, but the girl's name is Tansy. They keep shouting that over and over again. And I remember when Kat said her father died, that was one of the last things that he said. He kept saying Tansy, Tansy over and over again, and she didn't know who that was. And I think she asks her brother, do you know what Tansy is? Like, does that ring a bell? So is that just a random...
show?
In the books. So is that a random coincidence? Is that just like a popular name within Westeros? Just because Gurm wrote this scene, it makes me wonder if he's referencing something. It's like the first line in the episode is Tansy. She goes running.
Remember, Gurm is not infallible. That horse changes genders between books.
What horse?
There's some horse and it's like becomes a mare and everyone like calls upon it.
Or blue eyes go green. Yeah, there's little things like that.
It only has like 300 characters, and that's, not to skip ahead to the wedding, but like, man, looking at that crowd and seeing all those actors there, all for once, it must have been a very interesting shoot, to keep everybody quiet, because I'm sure they were having a good time. And just like that, watching the episode, we move along to King's Landing with Jaime and Tyrion, who we don't see together a lot, but they are friends. They do like each other. Like, Jaime's kind of, tortured him at various points throughout his life, as all older brothers do, but they get along, so it's nice to see them together.
Yeah, I like this scene a lot. I think this is playing to what is gonna come later on in this season, showing that Tyrion does have a soft spot for Jaime, despite their history. That the scene when he spills right here with the wine, and then he goes and like says, "It's just wine here," and he pours it, and then he goes and pours him another glass. Like, you could tell Tyrion of all the Lannisters, he still cares about his family a little bit, but he cares the most about Jaime. And I liked how they did this scene here, showing that like Tyrion loves his brother, and it's gonna pay off. It's gonna pay off.
Jaime also takes care of Tyrion. Like, if you go back to season 1, the first episode, like he brings him the horse.
Yeah.
And he's always been there for his little brother, and even down to like that whole thing with that Tyrion wanted to marry that lady, that whore.
Yeah.
And that Jamie set up this whole thing just to make him feel like he got a girl,
like rescued her.
Yeah, rescued her.
Yeah.
And we move on to Bronn being his trainer at the behest of Tyrion, which doesn't happen in the book, but I'm totally fine with. And obviously, does kind of the character swapping they normally do, which is to familiarize more with characters you already know instead of throwing in someone random.
Jeremy had some insight on this where I guess the actor who was supposed to train him has pancreatic cancer or something like that. But I think Bronn is a really popular character. He's one of those B characters that really stands out. Like, he never really goes... Even in the books, he never really goes beyond being like one-dimensional. But like in the books, it's like he becomes a knight, he becomes a lord. Like it's interesting. He's an interesting guy, and it's interesting to see him get a little more screen time.
Yeah, Ilyn Payne is not a TV-friendly character. Because he doesn't talk.
I couldn't remember if it was Ilyn Payne or someone else that worked with him. And Ilyn Payne, of course, is the guy who killed a lot of people, but specifically killed Ned. Was that the actual? Well, Joffrey killed Ned, but was actually the one that executed him. So yeah, do we think Jamie's gonna train? Do we think he's got a chance with his left hand?
Well, since we have subtitles on, I want to hear what they call this sword because I didn't quite get it. Sparring sword. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they said sparrow.
It sounded a little weird when in the delivery.
Yeah.
But I think just from people I talk to who haven't read the books and just watch the show, that they really love Bronn. Like Bronn's one of their favorite characters. So even if the issue with the actor, I think there's just a way to give him more screen time because he's kind of a fan favorite, despite him not being. I'm reading through the books, he wasn't the most important character. It wasn't too enthralled with him, but obviously in the show, he is a lot better in this.
And I think they've done a good job with Bronn of setting it up so if you see him somewhere random, you believe it. It's fine. It's you wouldn't think Bronn wouldn't do that. He's pretty much will do anything. For Tyrion or for the Lannisters because he knows they're rich, and so that's why he sticks around.
Was I the only one who thought of the Princess Bride when he's fighting with the other hand?
Sure, yeah. The sword fighting in general. You don't see really good sword fighting in TV or film. So
that one guy actually is I have a secret. I am actually fighting. I am right-handed.
Inigo Montoya.
Did a Marco accent there.
Inigo Rosado. We bounce back and forth in a lot of episodes of Game of Thrones, but we really stick to 3 major locations. We spend a lot of time with the Boltons in their keep. What's their keep called? What is it?
Dreadfort.
The Dreadfort.
I like this format. That I don't like when an episode jumps around 4 or 5 different characters. When they stick to 2 locations, I think it's when it's strongest. And then I don't mind not seeing Dany for an episode. I don't mind not seeing other characters.
We did see Dany for a whole book, so
the CG's on cooldown this episode.
They need to blow their cooldowns sporadically.
I just want to explain because I think it's really funny. My wife Amanda reminded me about the huge woman that gets off the horse and why he specifically has this giant woman as a wife. That he the dowry he got from the guy who runs the twins. I can't remember. Walder from Harry Potter. He said, "I will match the dowry of the weight of whoever you marry." So it's all right, give me the biggest wife you got. But this they don't say specifically. So that's a direct nod to the book. So I mean, of course, George wrote it. So
if you're watching
something for fans.
Sorry, if you're watching the episode with us, I think it's cool that his throne room, Bolton's throne room, is just a chair in an empty room. He doesn't care about any of the royalty or any of the status or anything like that. And I think that's a cool character.
Well, he's alone. You never really see him with a group of people. He always conspires with people, but you never see him leading a group of people or talking to a giant group of people.
Even in the books, he's kind of I know this is going to sound a little dorky, but he's always been a little bit of an existentialist. Even though he's an opportunist, especially with his bastard, he can see into the future almost. Not in a magic way, but he knows what's up, but he's just going with his role.
So who's Diet Vargo Hoat? Who's this other guy? His random assistant, Bolton's guy, because that's he does a lot of stuff that Vargo Hoat did in the book.
His name is Locke in the show. It's a made-up character.
The one to cut off Jamie's hand?
Yeah. He's a made-up character.
Okay.
He kind of fills the role of the Bloody Mummers in the book, but obviously if they add the Bloody Mummers to this story, it would be too complicated.
Well, he's got to do something, otherwise why bring him back to not say anything in this episode?
It's kind of it's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler, but it's kind of diverting from the books. Bolton assigns Locke to go hunt Bran and Rickon.
Right.
And it's okay, that's kind of for people, this stuff hasn't even happened in the books. So we're kind of thinking, okay, some things we are kind of we can speculate where that leads to now. That storyline.
And we get back with Bran, not to jump ahead, but we get back to Bran a little bit later too. So yeah, they're definitely tying those things together.
Yeah, there is that scene.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
And we're back to, poor Reek, poor Theon. Things are obviously bad for him. Thank God there's no more torture. I'm glad we're over that. We don't need any more of that from last season.
Well, it's all like just mental torture now. Stephanie my girlfriend could not comprehend why he wouldn't slit his throat. And I'm like, that's the whole point of the scene. He's like, but why doesn't he just slit? I'm like, no, that's the whole point. It's like he's completely broken. But why doesn't he? I'm like, no.
It's really good
making
seeing
no headway.
Yeah.
Bolton's face as Theon is shaving his son, and Bolton's like, wow, he really screwed this guy over. Like, Reek is a puppet at this point.
This actually reminded me of Django a little bit, where they talk about, Leonardo DiCaprio is talking about his pappy being shaved like 3 times a week. Subjugation is a horrible, horrible thing.
Where do you get shaving lotion in Westeros? That looks pretty modern.
So back to King's Landing. Going from like you were mentioning with this throne room, a lot of simplicity to a lot of opulence, and Varys or Varys or Varys or Virus. The spider. Comes back. First time we see him in season 4. And is being very nice to Tyrion, which he doesn't do a lot.
Something I've noticed about
No,
Varys...
they go back and forth. Like, everyone on the small council is, like, buddy-buddy, and, like they'll hug you while there's a dagger at your, your stomach,
Varys likes Tyrion, though. He's watching out for him, ultimately. But I think in this episode, in general, if you look at Varys during the wedding...
Oh, yeah.
And if you see him, he's irate for most of the episode. Like, he's kind of pissed at Tyrion or Shay, and then at the wedding, like, he's just giving everyone looks. It's like, it's a shit from his character, because before he used to be, like, he didn't really care about anything, but now he's starting, like, things are starting to get to him.
I like when he gets smacked in the head in the wedding. It's a great shot.
Brad Winters should be Varys for Halloween.
So we're back at King's Landing, and we're getting prepped for the wedding. This scene played out almost exactly the way it did in the books. This scene is a great scene for facial expressions. Generally the two the Lord and Lady Tyrell are pretty damn funny, just like their interactions. Because if you don't really know anything about like the way the family works, all of the women are in power, not just the Queen of Thorns. So I like when after this, when she's with Tywin, and he's like, "Oh, hello, Tywin." She's like, "Shut up, we're talking," and just kind of dismisses him. Like that's how things work in their family. But everyone at this table except for Cersei and Tywin is pretty much like disgusted with Joffrey, but there's nothing they can do about it. But it's just so obvious in their faces, and it's like, how do you write that? That's got to be.
I'm actually upset that Tywin doesn't say anything because he's stopped him before. I don't know. Tywin's character is really interesting to me.
It's his wedding. I think he's just like,
yeah. He's like, whatever.
I'm just gonna give him this day. I mean, but I like that. He strikes the table 3 or 4 times with the sword, and people actually are revolted by him. Have to I got to steer clear of this kid. Now he's just like annoying to listen to, or other people might be in danger. Like I might be in danger just because I might catch a crossbow bolt that he fires accidentally.
I think what you were mentioning about Tywin not giving a crap about anything that's going on, even Joffrey dying or the thing with Joffrey breaking the cake with a sword, and he just seems like nothing stirs him. I think that's part of the character. I think that's he intentionally they make him not have strong reactions to things.
I love the Dinklage's eyes when he says, "Oh yes, wisdom will be good." Now that the war's over, he's like, "Say what?" Obviously setting up. You're like, "Oh yeah, Joffrey's turned a corner. Wonderful." Such a great setup. Yeah, this kid's a brat. I mean, we don't really have to get into that. But lots of stuff at the wedding. The wedding takes a long time. You kind of get what we normally get in Game of Thrones episodes, with these little tiny bite-sized scenes where it's like, here's where the Viper stands with the Lannisters now. Here's where, Varys stands with Tyrion. And they're all surrounding the wedding, which is really fun.
It's probably one of the longest scenes in the series. Mm-hmm. Maybe the giant battles have been, like the one giant, you know the one I'm talking
Blackwater.
about. Maybe Blackwater. I can't remember if it was interrupted or not, but for this not being a battle scene, it's pretty interesting. I guess this is the pre-wedding right
it's
now.
It's a battle of minds.
Yeah.
So we see Shay a lot in this scene, which kind of leads us into the next scene where he eventually kicks her out, which she's very attached to him. I'm surprised you didn't see that coming. But I guess there's nothing really he can do. And obviously he's saying lots of terrible things during the scene, but he's lying, which is kind of evident by him being really pissed when it's over, that he obviously doesn't want to do this, but he's tried to warn her so many times that she just doesn't take him seriously.
Yeah, Shay, I'm really frustrated with her character, especially in this scene.
She's kind of an idiot by being like, let's fight your sister. It's like, what? You don't understand. That's not, of all the things to fight over.
Yeah, that line, I mean, no matter how naive you are, if you're in this capital for a year and you see the stuff that goes on, you wouldn't be saying the stuff that she's saying here. Like, he's a total airhead in the show, apparently. But as contrast to some of the things she says in earlier seasons, like, they make her seem like some, witty, smart girl.
Can we put spoiler dragons up for a second?
All right.
Spoiler dragons, you can cut this out.
Sure.
Isn't she actually in the employ of Lord Tywin?
Well, that yeah, we can talk about that later. I'll probably cut that out. But that was one of my big questions in the book, and one of the big things I wanted to see if the show was going to reveal was, like, when did that start? Like, when did she start sleeping with him? Did they sleep once, or did they sleep? So it's like the way I think the show's going to do it is that, like, she ran into his arms after this. Was like, I have nowhere to go. I'll go to Tywin.
She said drastically.
Plead to him, no, and he's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, they really.
But are they going to
give me a blowjob?
Are they going to loop back into that though? Because you saw Cersei point her out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. In the show, in the book,
and he's like, ugh.
In the book, she says scheming. She knows what she's doing. She's playing the game. Whereas in the show, they make her seem like an innocent, like, oh, well, this is happening to me, and it's.
And I like the scheming part. I think it
I don't know.
It makes it more of a lesson for Tyrion. He's like, I'm never falling for that shit again.
In the book, she actively double crossed Tyrion, like, through most of their relationship. Whereas in the show, they make it seem like this is. Her betrayal is starting, like, just now.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering when that was going to start, just because of how it was handled in the book. Like, at some clear point before, she was, or not clear, but at some point, she was, like, kind of crossing him. This was like, wait, she's still, like, completely on Tyrion's side. Like, he's done nothing to cause a betrayal. And now, like, they did this, like, one scene to do this. And I was like, I just thought it was a little too cliche, this scene. And then it made her come off, as everyone said, she comes off as really, like, ditzy, I guess, and, like, ignorant, which kind of sucks because her character could have been so good with what they said.
I wonder
earlier.
if she thinks she's but she's not dumb, so that's why I'm wondering if she really is still a betrayer, and she's run out of tricks, and she's just trying to figure out how to stay on as the spy or something like that. Well, I don't know.
We'll see, but that's not going to pay off until way later in the season, right? I mean, that's going to be like season 9, season 10 stuff. As long as we're doing spoiler dragons, that's my prediction. The very last moment of everything of this entire season will be Tywin dying. Like, that'll be there's nothing bigger than that.
You think they're gonna drag it out?
The season started with him. The first thing we saw in the season was him, like, coming out of the fire, and, like, staring at ice melting. And so the very last thing you see is, where would horse go? I think that's it.
For the record, the show they already say is going to be 7 seasons long.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
In multiple interviews,
7 or 8. In the article they just had, they said 7 or 8 in like Rolling Stone or Variety or something. The one that says "Game On" when they're all on the cover.
Well, whatever the case, this means that this is halfway through the show already. That's exciting.
Pyrotechnics.
So, time to burn some people. We just like I was saying, how there's kind of 3 where King's Landing, the 3 big scenes. King's Landing, the Dreadfort, and now we're at Dragonstone. Play too many RPGs, man. I just cannot keep these titles.
Dreadfort's a good name, though.
Winterstorm, Winterfell.
Yeah. For people that are just watching the show that are not into the books or just casual viewers, it seems like the Stannis stuff is the weakest, like the stuff that they really cared the least about.
Unless the magic happens.
Even
they
like
get some supernatural stuff in
with the Shadow Baby, but I think it's hard to empathize with this story unless you're actually reading the characters' minds, like in the book.
Well, didn't this whole scene seem like they were just retreading water? Maybe they're just trying to reintroduce stuff, but like everything that happens here doesn't really add on to much. Like, even him talking to the daughter, like it doesn't. I mean, it shows her like zealotry or whatever, but like I don't know.
I think it just reintroduces everybody. I love
the wife. I love the wife I got out of it.
Stannis' wife is a classic example because I think she vanished like last season. It's a great example of a character that can so easily just like evaporate from the show. She
also had a bit of wit in her. I thought she was supposed to be a little more vapid.
And I was just thinking, like, I like that Stannis isn't like abusive, typical, just shut up, woman. He's just, I'm a king, shut up. Like, he's very direct with her. Like, no, you won't do that with our daughter. Like, I see where you're coming from, but that's the law, and she totally respects that. She's like, okay, she calls him my lord. And you see her relationship with Melisandre. It's like, just I assume she knows that they're banging
No, she
begging
told
to
her.
save the kingdom.
Yeah, in the previous season, she said, Melisandre has told me everything, and I'm okay. I'm so proud I cried.
Yeah.
When you fucked her, it's like, what the hell?
I actually surprised my wife because when I first started getting into this and like got all the kings before all the kings just started spiraling out of control, she was like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "I like Stannis because in the show you can kind of just looking at his face, you can sense his fatigue, his like distrust, his just like completely at wit's end. Like, what do I do? What actions do I take?" Or in the book, everything he said actually made a lot of sense. Like everybody else, like Renly was so young and stupid, and like Joffrey was obviously out of his fucking mind, and like Tywin was just like too ruthless and didn't care about anybody. It was family, and everybody had like a game. Yeah, what
are you gonna say about Rob?
But Rob was immature, just kind of like Renly,
I don't know. The thing about Stannis to me is like, to put him into like a D&D archetype, it's like he's the paladin. He's like the buzzkill. He's like, oh, I'm really good at this stuff by the law. I was like,
he's Cyclops.
If he's gonna start doing like light heals or something, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, so while we're in the dragons, this is a minor spoiler dragon. I don't know, Brandon, you'll let me know if this is too much, but. So, if people have been catching, like, if they're going back to season 3, and they see that Melisandre created this ritual where she burned 3 leeches with the blood of a king, which was, what's his name? The guy with Arya. Oh, that guy.
Yeah, the Baratheon bastard.
Yeah, exactly, the Baratheon bastard. They burned the leeches, and it says one for Robb Stark the Usurper, and more for Balon Greyjoy, and more for Joffrey. And it leads the reader to believe, and the viewer, that those 3 leeches represent each king, and once they burned, that quote-unquote magic sets into motion that those characters eventually will die. And we saw Joffrey die, we saw Robb die, and apparently the order in which they die in the books is important, because they first sacrificed Robb's leech, and Robb died in the Red Wedding, and then they sacrificed Balon Greyjoy's, and Balon died, and then Joffrey. We never see Balon Greyjoy here. Even though in the show they do say Balon Greyjoy when they throw the second leech.
Yeah, he's still alive.
So
it was Gentry or Gendry.
Gendry,
yeah.
So I mean, if Joffrey died and Robb died, that means that Balon Greyjoy will die eventually.
Does Stannis' daughter, was she in the books, did she have the fool who was like mentally inept? Was that Paleface or something like that, or was that someone else?
No, that was
Moonface.
Moonface,
yes.
Moon Boy, and that was.
Or is that Cat's sister?
That was. Oh fudge! Why am I not remembering?
Moon Boy is in like King's Landing.
King's Landing,
is
yeah.
He? Okay,
Yeah,
I was kind of hoping he'd be in the
like Moon Boy, entertain us.
He's fucking the Moon Boy. For
yeah.
All we know. That line got repeated like 50 times in the book.
Jamie reciting it.
I also love when someone's telling someone else about religion, and they say, "No, it's not that religion. It's this religion." You're like, "Oh, good point. Yeah, okay, that's Melisandre makes a really good case for the Lord of Light." She's like, "It's not the 7 gods, it's Lord of Light." And it's like, well, God, when you put it that way, I mean, that's such a convincing argument. Possibly a little out of her mind, but who knows? I mean, even they never really come out and say anything about the gods. There's magic, but we don't really know. At the end of the day, I don't know if that's something even to the end of the last books.
Marco here and Hoffman have definitely had some weird discussions about, or maybe it was just Jeremy, had some weird discussions about how the gods work, and it's always easy to forget. Everyone wants to call it Game of Thrones, but it's actually a song of Ice and Fire, which is really, I like it because it's like a roadmap. It's really easy to understand, but then it's not really ever called upon all that much, because Game of Thrones is just such a little attractive little phrase.
It's wartime.
Yeah, wartime.
This reminds me of the movie Doom, with the first-person shooter.
This is how they handle the CG cooldown.
First-person deer hunting. Is this
Cabela?
Cabela in Oculus Rift?
Hodor, finally.
I'm really. I haven't seen this episode. I only saw it once yesterday, and I really want to look again at the flashback. The flash forward.
I actually before the show I wanted to break out the images.
Both ways.
My apologies if you.
Is in it.
My apologies if you hear me clicking up ahead, but we're gonna try to click through the dream sequence that he has. But we meet up with Bran. Ages are holding up nicely. Bran and Arya and everybody. They don't look like they should be in college.
I actually thought Bran's face was a little older, but I haven't actually watched the last season recently.
A little bit, but I mean it's
compared to Arya, who looks like she didn't age a day.
Bran is like 17
now. Yeah.
In real life.
This actor. And he can totally tell. I mean, I rewatched the first episode with a friend of mine last week. And I'm like, holy shit, Bran is different. I mean, Arya has changed, obviously, but Bran, I think, is the starkest change.
Get it? So yeah, so they're heading north. At the end of the scene, he says, "I know where we need to go." So where were they going before he said, "I know where we need to go"? Just north.
He just knew he needed to go beyond the wall.
Right.
To find
the three-eyed crow.
Yeah, three-eyed crow.
And that's where they were headed anyway.
Yeah,
but now, I think
after this sequence, he has a more clear direction.
After he hooks into the Matrix.
It's weird because he hooks into the Matrix and he sees like all these shots of King's Landing, and then I know where I have to go. What, King's Landing?
No, the guy talks.
No, it's the
he talks to him. He says go north.
The one that everyone thinks is the uncle.
The
Jon Snow's uncle.
Yeah,
the Stark uncle. Everyone thinks the black. What's his name?
The Crow.
Cold Hands.
Cold Hands. Yes.
Oh,
Cold Hands is not in the show.
But that wouldn't be.
But they showed the horse, the dead horse.
The dead horse is from the season 2 finale.
Yeah.
Where it's the same shot. They just took it from that episode.
The internet in Westeros.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
where trees.
So we're hacked. He's hacked into the Matrix. We got the three-eyed crow.
Cause.
We have the crypt
grave.
Underneath Winterfell.
It's the one where you saw Ned's grave.
We get a little close-up on Ned, which is
Ned
interesting.
in the past.
Yeah, Ned in prison.
Imprisoned.
I'm assuming they shot that. They didn't bring Sean Bean back in. I'm sure they just had that. I couldn't remember that specific shot of his eye.
That specific shot is from the first season, yes.
Hear the whispers.
That's from season 2, the beginning of season 2, when Sam is running away.
That's the time-lapse shot.
Reddit is your friend, by the way, if you're analyzing this stuff.
This
is an exclusive shot. The shot of the werewood tree, that was made for this episode.
Yeah.
And there's like a little door behind under the face, and maybe there's something in there,
A spoiler dragon.
A dungeon.
A dungeon, or
So yeah, lots of trees with faces.
Yeah, we all know this shot.
See, a show premiere shot with a freaky girl in the forest. That's for when.
Yeah, that's Sam.
Season 3, yes.
And they ran away. And all the crows chased them back to the tree.
That's season 2 finale.
With what's his
face? Is that a zombie horse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the first time we
tell from that shot.
Dany's dream.
This is exactly from Dany's dream in the House of the Undying, the Iron Throne in the snow. This shot is brand new.
Who's being reflected?
It's a White Walker.
Yeah.
But he looks different. So there's this shot of a White Walker looking at an ice cave or.
Well, it looks like you're through ice. It looks like you're underneath the water, looking up through the ice at a White Walker walking across the surface.
And you guys are 100% sure that's a White Walker?
Yeah, he's got blue eyes. And
I mean, I have a theory of what the shot's from, but we'd have to put up like minor spoiler dragons.
2 spoiler dragons?
Cold Hands?
Tiamat?
No. The spoiler dragons would be like late in book 5 when Bran, Hodor, and them are getting close to their destination. Mm-hmm. The White Walkers descend upon them. And they cover themselves in snow to hide from them. Remember? They go under and they watch them walk over.
Hey, by the way,
that's good.
Now that we're in the screenshot, there's like an Aurora Borealis in the sky. So, yeah, they're really far north in this vision to see an Aurora Borealis.
Bran falling.
And then the big one.
The ultimate troll.
The Desolation of Smaug.
The shots from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's Desolation of Smaug.
Teasing dragons in King's Landing and them roaring. That's bad. Gurm, come on, man. Like, the dragons are not coming forever. He doesn't even know how to write that.
But interesting, we saw more of that shot in the promo than we did in the actual episode. In the promo, we see the dragon shadow go all the way up to the castle, where it's just a quick shot. And
maybe Dany has that vision later again.
Yeah, maybe. I think Dany has that vision a lot. I think Dany closes her eyes and that's all she sees is dragon shadows over King's Landing. But yeah, interesting little, especially to have the beginning of a season little tease. If you can't put the pieces all together of what he's looking at and just the treater net, the arbor net.
Ryan is the one that of my friends, he's the one that always calls it the internet.
Yeah,
because in the book, it's even more apparent.
The green seers are 4chan trolls.
They're 4chan trolls.
And did that happen the way in the book where Bran's just like, that tree, take me there? Like, did he just spot that, or did someone else tell him to do it?
No, in the book, there's a character, Cold Hands, that they meet at the wall, and he takes them straight to where they're going. whereas that character's not in the show so far. So Bran is just like using trees to guide himself there.
I mean, you could just put a guy in a robe. You can have like an assistant or something, like a production person. Just put him in, kind of like the Ghost of Christmas Future from Christmas Carol. It's like you don't really need to see Cold Hands.
In the book, Cold Hands is kind of like a Boba Fett character. Like it's a character that's there briefly, and he doesn't do that much. But people's like, he's so cool. It's like a zombie, but he's good, and he has crows around him. I was like, okay, and I think they'll be disappointed if he's not in the show. Look at Tommen, he's huge.
So yay weddings, yay everyone getting married, woo! This is like almost like the full cast of this show. There's a lot of fun people. It must be kind of fun to be a random extra, which is like a robe standing next to just all these great actors that are on the show. Yeah, nice to take the time to actually do the wedding and at least just do the ceremony, so we don't just jump to the feast. But we are at the 30-minute marker on the show, and the whole rest of the show is this wedding. So there's lots of little scenes broken up. I mean, the wedding in general. Any thoughts, Mr. Stevens?
No, I mean, it's the reception.
Are you happy? I see tears welling up in your eye.
Did you like her dress?
My one good eye.
What is she wearing?
It annoys me because she's really cute, and Joffrey sucks.
Oh, that's why he died.
So we talked about this earlier, the Queen of Thorns and Tywin chat on the way to the feast, and this chat is great.
Weddings are boring. Receptions.
Yeah, this wedding
pretty quick. They know what people want.
But lots of great pairings. We've never seen the two of them talk, and obviously they're both in seats of power, and both just
this is
are pretty ruthless about getting what they want.
We already talked about this a bit, but this is great.
And the Lord Tyrell is pretty funny to watch at the feast too. He has a great smirk at Joffrey after he chops the book up, where you can kind of see him just aghast, and then right when Joffrey sits down next to him, he smiles and looks fake. So we get to the feast. I like the chick that does this like amazing bow right in front where Oberyn and his date check out.
You think she was trained in the lice pleasure houses?
Yeah, probably. Is that where all the people come from? Is that where you get the little people brigade? But lots of little beats. We'll just kind of jump through them really quick with the wedding.
This scene is my second favorite of the episode. where when
we know what you like.
The Red Viper is talking to Cersei, and it's like the former Queen Regent, and la la la, and he keeps like just nagging at her. I love that scene.
Good.
And great because that scene. I mean, it might have happened. The Viper did he attend the wedding even though he arrives in King's Landing much earlier?
He did. Yeah. He wasn't. He didn't have a speaking role in the.
They reference
in the show that much. I mean, in the book.
Yeah.
But that scene of him, it's beautiful. Like he's just a troll. I love troll
and I would say something that George is really good at writing is people just being relentless with each other and just realizing like I'm not going to start a scene, but I am going to insult you to your very soul, and make you feel absolutely terrible. And they all do it with just a smirk on their face, which is great.
I think at this point I don't want to hear Reigns of Castamere anymore. It's over. It's overplayed now.
Yeah,
it's like nonstop.
I like this.
They sang it in the whorehouse in the first episode.
They're gonna do a little gay chicken.
You'll never marry her. Neither will you.
The battle of the two.
Burn.
That lion thing.
And then he taps his arm that doesn't work. It's like okay.
They're doing a lot of Brienne in this.
So yeah, we're just talking about Sir Lawrence, the Knight of Flowers. I love when the I don't know if you guys noticed when the guys come in on the horses. One of them is riding the Knight of Flowers.
Yeah.
And one of them is riding Melisandre. So Stannis is riding Melisandre instead of a horse, and Renly is riding, which is pretty, ballsy for.
Loras is right there.
To do right in front of him, and like they got to like hump the decapitated head of Robb Stark, like right in front of Sansa. So did Joffrey like plan the little? Did he go to rehearsals and stuff for it, or like what? Because no one knew that was coming. Like even Tywin didn't know that was coming, right?
Well, he seems like he'd be a really good stage director. He's got the passion.
And I love, like, you think Joffrey's dismissing all these people. We just saw Brienne go up and give her well wishes, and he's like, shut up. And he throws the money at the musicians, and Joffrey's so impatient. And you think, it's just because he's a dick, or because, Gurm is trying to build up your hatred of him so it'll be more satisfying when he dies at the end of the episode. I think he's just waiting to get to the little people. He's like, I got the best surprise in the world. This is going to be the best show ever. But really, really full of himself. The War of the Five Kings. He really wants. The scene earlier with him going through the book of all the knights and their history. He talks about history many times in this episode. So like,
I will say, for Joffrey's obviously like King Douche, like literally, officially King Douche, with his bride now. But Cersei is such douche understudy. Like, everything she says is awful as well. And like, she's so petty with the food. Like, give it to the dogs. It's like she really is just like a couple levels below him in just being like a petty asshole.
Yeah, I like how Tywin at one point tells her, like, you think you're better at what you do than you really are. And that's exactly what the character's all about. Like this queen that thinks she's playing the game and she's like a pro, and in reality she's just an amateur.
And what is this maester's name that she interrupts
Lysel.
and scolds? Lysel. Yeah, I get all my maesters mixed up.
Go see Qyburn.
But yeah, we saw that obviously this is a reminder that he's not exactly
lecherous,
sticking to the cloth specifically, just like keeping it real. But it's the guy from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. If any of you guys, he's the guy that drinks
destroyed
the wrong
Echo
cup at the end of Last Crusade.
He destroyed Echo Base.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
He was
the
the guy.
Empire Strikes Back too as well. But just lots of people being mean to people. But it's a wedding, and so there's no real fights or anything. But this is kind of shadowy, this next scene with her and Oberyn's a little, it's by the food, so it's a little more public. So if you were walking by them, you might not realize that they were arguing. But
subtext.
And Tywin just doesn't care. Like, Cersei actually tries to play the game and actually tries to put on a face, but like Tywin, there's no fake with Tywin. Like, he's just kind of indifferent. I mean, even when he's looking at Joffrey being a complete ass, he's just like, well, what are you gonna do? I mean, that's your king. You gotta deal with it. So do we see more with Oberyn before the scene he was brought into this season for, basically? Like,
I think that's gonna happen like in episode 8.
Okay, So Oberyn might, because I dig him, and I think people dig this new character. But
in his visits to a certain cell,
might not be in the next episode, might not be in the episode after that. So just to set it up, if you're a fan of this guy, you might be saying goodbye to him for a little bit. Nothing really else happens at the wedding. People just kind of talk and hang out. It's pretty uneventful.
Clapping.
You got all the little people fighting,
writing Melisandre.
So good.
And Joffrey just loses it. Yeah, this is Lord
Dude, that shot of Sansa, like, as they keep talking about, like, the decapitated the wolf, and then you keep closing up on Sansa. Look at Varys, man.
It's everyone's reaction. It's so good.
This, like, yeah.
A lot of attention to detail.
Like, look, Marjorie's reaction. Jeez.
You can see who's on which side based on how they're reacting to...
Aren't there a couple shots where Joffrey looks at, like, Marjorie and she, like, goes from being, like, stone-faced to being like,
yeah.
But yeah, just great.
Hubby!
Just great facial expressions.
That's fair.
I thought a lot in this scene about what Joffrey would be like if he hadn't died and actually like had been king for years and years and years. Like, what would a 60-year-old fat old Joffrey be like?
Well, the other thing I was thinking of is, like, in general, if you were at this wedding and you were just a general party goer, this probably was actually pretty funny and entertaining, right? Like, it's really like asshole moves, but like, it seems actually somewhat appropriate.
Did you skip over the scene where the Queen of Thorns is talking to Sansa?
Yeah, I might have. But I mean, we don't necessarily need to watch that. Do you want to specifically see it?
Well, it's...
He wants to see what Jeremy said.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that until...
Yeah, I don't know where that is. I mean, this whole thing's kind of mishmash.
Well, we're getting near the end now, so it's probably a safe time to bring up. If you dug the episode and you liked that Joffrey died, and we've talked about it. The makeup was really great. It's obviously very gratifying to see the little prick, get taken out. But I think to close things up, we want to talk a little bit about who did this and how was this pulled off.
Well, this should be a spoiler dragon because we know
that's
from the books.
That's what I'm setting this up. So if you want, if you're happy with our analysis of the episode, you can duck out now. But if you want to really get into it, it's not only not hidden in the show, it's not hidden in other seasons. You just need to see. If you've never seen the show before, you could probably take a gander or a guess at who was responsible for this. The completely random scene in the last episode of reintroducing this old character who's only in one episode before. It's like that gives her this necklace. It's like, okay, it's kind of random for them to bring up. So obviously that plays into this somehow. And there's a lot of sleight of hand in this episode, and a lot of the actual poisoning of the cup is not something that we see on camera, but we are kind of given a sense of, I don't know, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure this out. I don't think it's that tough. I mean, to set it up, spoiler dragon, the first person that you see after he, let me grab the cup before he drinks it, is the Queen of Thorns. They show the cup right in front of her.
And then that same cup is given to him, and then Joffrey gives the cup to his wife and to Marjorie, and Marjorie, she looks at it as she's going to drink, and then she puts it on the table.
Yeah, I think if anyone did think it was Tyrion, I think you're silly. Because he refuses it so many times. The crazy thing is there's a scene where the Queen of Thorns goes up to Sansa, and the way they cut it, you don't really see it explicitly, but she does kind of like drape. Sorry, I just touched Marco's neck. She just kind of drape crosses her hand across her neck, and she is sitting. Is she sitting right next to Marjorie?
I mean,
Sansa? No, she's sitting really far away.
No.
Oh, the Queen of Thorns? She's
yeah.
Yeah. She's on another table, but she's she's the first person to Marjorie's right.
Okay, yeah. Jeremy says that if you count the crystals on her neck, she's missing one.
But it's concealed by her braid.
I was looking at that carefully, and also like the cup also falls on the floor, and then Sansa hands it to Tyrion.
But you could just coat the cup with poison or something.
Yeah, Tyrion clearly looks into it and doesn't make any facial reaction.
The Dorns are known for poison, right? Like that's a
that's like a known poison spears.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah.
I think the
pie is good.
In the book it was more plausible, I think, right? Because in the book it was a headdress, right? That had remember the thing.
I think what's good. Yeah.
I don't think it's super obvious though, Brandon.
It's not super obvious, but it's not super obvious to someone who's just watching it. But if you go back to try to think I wonder who was responsible for that. The last person you see near the cup before he picks it up and drinks it is the Queen of Thorns. So it's like
right, but I guess just the whole.
Maybe I'm an editor.
The whole necklace. Like I think a lot of people wouldn't even realize it's the same necklace.
Oh sure.
After a week and stuff like that.
But I mean, in the last episode, there was a hint at jewelry. There was a shot specifically, moving.
No, they dedefinitely hype it up for
the banister there, and you see multiple necklaces, and then a totally random character gives it to Sansa, who then wears it to the wedding. And for anyone else, if anybody strolled into the spoiler dragon territory and wishes they hadn't, if you, if you want to try to figure this stuff out with having it spoiled for you, understand that. They have very little time to cram all of this content into these episodes. So if you see something, it's not like, we'll just have them say that. Like, that all the lines are very deliberate. All of the shots are very deliberate.
No, it's masterfully done, but my question is, are they going to, since this isn't text, and is there going to be a callback to these scenes that kind of splay it out? Like, bing, jester, bing, necklace, bing, cup right near the Queen of Thorns, Like, are they going to explicitly show this to the viewer later on? Because right now, a lot of this you have to infer. It's been handled very subtly, but very well. I'm just curious how it's gonna go down.
Marjorie and the Queen of Thorns are the first two people to make a comment about him choking.
Marjorie doesn't know. I don't think Marjorie knows. Because did you watch the next week teaser?
No.
She's yelling at her grandma.
Oh, okay.
She's like, and she's like, "No, you're in a better position."
And
Wait, so that means that next episode we'll already know?
I don't know. I mean, the little 30-second teaser. I thought the poison effect was really good.
Yeah, it was really gruesome.
But not over the top, right?
When his eyes go red, that was like...
They
like a little
They
demon.
go askew, like in the very last scene, right before you cut away. One's looking in one direction and one's looking in the other.
Somebody online compared his transformation as he's being poisoned to Palpatine in episode 3, where he starts to melt and becomes like the ghoul. Look at that. I like that it goes to black from his face, his dead face.
Oh, that's it. Credits. Yeah, you gotta end on a bang. I think maybe the only actual genuine sad emotions that come up out of this scene are I feel bad for Jaime, just because I think you talk about trolling as well. I think they set that up before. They talked a lot about security. Cersei asked him, do you really want to stay in the Kingsguard? Do you think you're capable of defending the king, not just for your honor, but because it's my son, damn it. I want, people to be on the Kingsguard that are capable and can actually protect him. I don't want to put up the facade that, my son's life is not in danger. He even reaffirms to Joffrey in person that, no, I'm going to be protecting you, not this guy that was here in my my absence. And, even though my hand is gone, I am completely capable. And they made a point to show him like scramble towards Joffrey, completely powerless, like on his knees, nothing he can do.
And on the flip side, isn't the last scene he has with him was the last like the last real scene he had with him? Joffrey was a huge dick to him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There is no sympathy for this guy.
As opposed to those other scenes between him and Joffrey, where Joffrey was really nice to him.
Well, I mean, making fun of his hand.
They don't have many
like
scenes
that.
together, actually, just the two.
I guess you're right. It's more with Cersei, huh?
I think Joffrey knows secretly that his real dad is his uncle.
New.
He doesn't know anything anymore.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah,
he doesn't know a damn thing now. So
maybe the Lord of Light will bring him back so they can kill him again.
So raise a cup. Make sure there's no necklace bits in it first, but pour one out for our poor homie Joffrey. It won't make up for, I don't know, 80,000 Starks that have been slaughtered in various different ways, but it's something at least. And it's getting good, folks. Because we're going back and forth between book 3 and book 4, you have all these amazing moments from 2 books that are just like, capping off all of these episodes. So I can think of at least 4, possibly 5 huge moments that have yet to happen in this season.
Did we skip the jester taking Sansa away?
No, we should.
It's very brief.
We were just talking over it.
No, it's kind of an interesting scene because it seems like such a gamble. Like, right? Like, in the midst of all of this, for her to just sneak. Like, she's been a prisoner, basically.
Well, I mean, everyone's going to be, on. And I think he knew that, obviously, someone else other than them is going to get... everybody wants blood, and if they have somebody to blame, that's all it takes.
So, yeah, in the books, didn't they do a little bit more setup with that? With, like, Littlefinger and the jester who was, like, the embarrassed, like, knight? Didn't they, like, do a little bit more setup where he said, like, I thought there was a little bit more setup with Sansa.
In the book, she goes to the Godswood a lot.
Yeah,
and every time, because Sansa's a point of view character, and most of book 3 is her going to the Godswood and meeting up with Ser Dantos, and he's drunk, he's trying to like whatever do his thing. And yeah, that sets up this. In the show, they kind of just bring him back at the last minute.
He is juggling really poorly for a couple seconds.
And then he bets everybody that they can't knock
it's good
his
that
hat
he's
off.
not seen though. Yeah.
So many characters, such a good scene, example of like you just don't get this kind of grandeur in any other show, I think, on TV, as far as all of these, not only famous actors, but, characters that we have so much stake in, all appearing in one scene, for one moment. It's like, just compared to something like Friends, like the wedding on Friends, like this is the way Game of Thrones does weddings.
Well, the moral of the story is don't go to a Westeros wedding.
That's for sure. Just don't live in Westeros, period. If you wake up tomorrow in Westeros, kill yourself, because it's just not going to end well.
Essos is pretty bad, too.
Bravos
is the only good place to live.
A minor tease is that my friend told me, like, okay, last episode, Arya killed Polliver. This episode, Joffrey died, and there kind of is a trend in the story this season that there will be a death in pretty much every episode, which is really exciting.
But they're going to be great, and there's going to be a lot of fallout. Obviously, Cersei's going to, lose her fucking mind. I don't think that's much of a spoiler. But, lots of fallout here, lots of excitement coming up, and we'll be back to chat about it. So, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Marco. And we'll see you guys next week.